Welcome to S3, the world's most reliable file cabinet. Amazon S3 currently stores over 350 trillion objects and has never lost a single one. If your business files, backups, images, and documents are not in S3, you are taking a risk you simply don't need to take. This program is Module 2, Episode 3 of the Understanding AWS and Cloud Services course, brought to you by the Series of Thoughts team. This episode is part of Module 2, focusing on compute and storage. In the full curriculum, you can see all 6 modules and more than 30 episodes, taking you from beginner to intermediate AWS knowledge for business builders. S3 is not glamorous, but it solves a universal business problem: where to put your stuff. It gives files a permanent, reliable, and affordable home in the cloud. Today, we'll cover S3 structure, creating your first bucket, storage classes and cost management, hosting a static website, and lifecycle policies and permissions. What is S3 really? The best analogy is that S3 is a filing cabinet in the cloud, one that never gets full, never burns down, and only charges you for what you actually use. The core concepts are buckets, objects, and keys. The bucket is the top-level container, given a globally unique name, residing in a specific AWS region. An object is any individual file stored inside the bucket, from a few bytes up to 5 terabytes. The key is the full path, like a folder tab and file name, used to retrieve the object. Creating your first bucket takes less than 2 minutes in the AWS console, but a few choices made during creation greatly impact cost and security. These are important to understand before you click Create. The 3 key settings are region selection, public versus private access, and versioning. Choose the region closest to your users for lower latency. By default, S3 blocks all public access for security. Enabling versioning is highly recommended for important buckets, allowing restoration of previous file versions. The demo walkthrough will guide you step by step to create a bucket, upload files, enable versioning, and configure it for static website hosting. By the end, you'll have a live, versioned bucket with a public website endpoint. S3 storage classes help manage costs because not all files are created equal. S3 offers multiple storage tiers, priced differently based on how often you need to access the data. Choosing the right tier can cut your storage bill by up to 95%. S3 Standard is for active files accessed regularly, costing about $0.023 per gigabyte per month. S3 Glacier is for cold archives, like compliance records, accessed rarely, costing around $0.004 per gigabyte per month. For a small business, 100 gigabytes of active storage in S3 Standard costs only $2.30 a month. Moving cold data to Glacier can offer an 11x cost reduction. This is a dramatic savings for archives you rarely touch. Lifecycle policies allow S3 to automatically manage costs for you. Instead of manually moving files between storage classes, S3 lifecycle policies do it automatically on a schedule you define. Set it once and save money forever. A simple 3-tier lifecycle policy saves real money. Files start in S3 Standard for active use, automatically transition to S3 Standard IA at day 90 for a 40% cost reduction, and finally move to S3 Glacier at day 365 for 83% savings. This impactful cost optimization is configured easily in the AWS console. As a bonus use case, S3 can host a static website almost entirely for free. If you have a simple website like a landing page or documentation, you can host it directly on S3. No server or web host subscription is needed. Just upload your HTML files and flip a switch. Static website hosting is the fastest, cheapest way to get a simple site online. Static means every visitor sees the same pre-built files with no database or login system. To enable it, you simply navigate to Properties in your bucket settings. Choose Static Website Hosting, specify your index file, and S3 provides a public URL. S3's most important security principle is that nothing is public unless you explicitly make it public. The Block All Public Access setting is on by default, and for most business data, this is how it should remain. You need to know 3 layers of access control. Block Public Access is the master switch that should be ON for sensitive data. IAM policies define which AWS users and services can access the bucket. Bucket policies use JSON rules to control access at the resource level, often used for cross-account access. With public access enabled, anyone with a URL can download files, leading to major data breaches. With Block Public Access ON, every request must be authenticated, requiring AWS credentials even if someone knows the file key. This is a secure baseline. So what should your business store in S3? Financial records, contracts, and legal documents benefit from secure, versioned storage. Product images, media, and high-res assets can be delivered quickly globally. Automated database backups can leverage Glacier for long-term, low-cost retention. Versioning is your undo button for the cloud. When enabled, S3 retains the previous version every time a file is modified or deleted, indefinitely, until you explicitly purge it. This is highly recommended for important files. Versioning saves the day against accidental overwrites, enabling you to restore originals easily. It protects against ransomware, allowing rollback to a clean snapshot. It also ensures immediate recovery from accidental deletions. Remember that versioning increases storage costs, so use lifecycle policies to expire old versions. AWS guarantees 11 nines of data durability. This means the probability of losing any object is extremely low. Every object is replicated across at least 3 physically separate data centers for high availability. In S3's entire history, AWS has never permanently lost a single customer file. S3 is the connective tissue of AWS. It is the foundation that makes the rest of the AWS ecosystem work together seamlessly for your business. Key integrations for small businesses include Lambda functions for automated processing, Athena for running SQL queries against data, CloudFront for fast global content delivery, and AWS Backup for central management of backups across resources. When understanding your S3 bill, you pay for storage per gigabyte per month and for requests, which are usually negligible for small businesses. Data transfer out of AWS to the internet is typically the largest variable cost. You do not pay for data transfer into S3, data transfer between S3 and other AWS services in the same region, bucket management, or the first 5 gigabytes of storage each month, thanks to the free tier. To keep your S3 bill low, use the appropriate storage classes, set lifecycle policies to automate tier transitions, expire old file versions, compress files before uploading, and set budget alerts to notify you of unexpected spend. Avoid leaving buckets public accidentally, as this is a major security risk. Also, don't store everything in S3 standard. Move cold data to Glacier to avoid paying more than necessary for files you rarely access. Do not forget to enable versioning when you create the bucket. Without it, accidental deletions are permanent. Finally, establish a naming convention from day one to keep your files organized and easily retrievable. We have a simple 3-tier framework for what to back up, how often, and where. Map your files to these tiers and use lifecycle policies to automate the transitions, simplifying your business backup needs. Every file your business generates deserves a copy in S3, including invoices, contracts, and backups. It costs fractions of a cent per gigabyte, never goes down, and connects to every other AWS service. You can't afford not to use it. In this video, you learned about S3 structure with buckets, objects, and keys, and the details of bucket creation, including region selection and versioning. We also covered storage classes and lifecycle policies, static website hosting, and essential security fundamentals. Coming up next is Module 2, Episode 3, Lambda. We will learn how to automate tasks without a server, including triggering Lambda functions from S3 uploads. This will connect the concepts you've learned for a true serverless automation workflow. You now have all the information needed to get your business's critical files into S3 today. Open the AWS console, create your first bucket, and upload something. Congratulations on completing this episode.